Hi, this is Shel Horowitz from GoingBeyondSustainability.com. I live in Hadley, Massachusetts, in this house built in 1743, and I make my living helping businesses see the wisdom in creating products and services and marketing them that help address things like hunger, poverty, war, and catastrophic climate change. The work that I do takes primarily three forms: as a writer, a speaker, and a consultant. It's going to really depend on what a company needs, what I'm going to offer them. Some people might want me to come and give a talk, a presentation. Some might want some in-depth training with their staff. It's all about using my communication and my analytical and my intuitive skills to figure out where they need to go and how to get them there. Sometimes that can be something as simple as writing a piece of marketing material for them. Sometimes it might be as complicated as writing a whole book, and often it's going to be somewhere in the middle with perhaps some short-term consulting over a period of several months where we are looking at how to move the needle on what they're trying to do and on the impact it'll have in the world. I've had a career in marketing going back to the 1970s, and I've had a history of my own social and environmental activism going back to the 1970s. And I started looking for, well, I used everything I knew about marketing in this campaign to save the mountain. What can I do to incorporate what I know about organizing and social change into the marketing side? So that began an evolution that led to my writing several books in that area and speaking, doing even a TED Talk, and forming the idea that business doesn't have to just be sustainable, doesn't have to be just doing things that don't make things any worse, but can actually make things better. I do have, I think, quite a number of new books in me. I've done 10 so far, and well, there have been 5 foreign publications of my books. I got fired from my one and only corporate job in March 1978. And I was living in New York at the time, and it took us a couple of years to get up here. And when I was newly up here, I decided I would make my living as a freelance writer, and while I was waiting for that to kick off, I started a term paper typing service. That's when I started the business. It kept morphing and morphing and morphing. First, I started writing a lot of resumes for people, and then that led me to start doing business-to-business marketing, writing press releases, flyers, web copy. All the ways that people want to get in front of their customers need to be written. So I was a person who did a lot of that kind of writing. And then I started adding a lot more of the consulting and speaking later on. And then, as I said, in 2000, I started really looking at how my business could be more socially conscious and more about the work I did in my free time. And it started to take the form that it has now. Success means that I'm doing things that give me meaning in life, that provide a way of making the world better, that help people in some way, and that make me enough to live on and travel and do the fun things. I work on and off. Usually I get up around 6 and I'm typically checking my email around 6:30. And I get off the computer for good around 10 p.m. and in between I might work anywhere from 15 minutes to 2 hours at a time, take a break, go hike the mountain, take a bike ride. I aim to get 2 hours of exercise every day, and I generally meet or exceed that. But I'm very happy with what I do, and I feel like I've got a well-balanced life. When I write, when I teach, when I consult, I'm always in learning mode. And I love being a lifelong learner. The world is a very exciting place to me. GetResponse was my 3rd or 4th provider. I learned very quickly when my list was only 600 people that managing it myself was a huge waste of time and energy, and that I wasn't particularly good at it. And then Simon Grabowski, I knew him from an internet discussion forum about marketing. He is the founder of GetResponse. And then he came to me as a client. And I thought, well, if he's going to be my client, maybe I should also be his, because I always write better copy for people if I actually have used the product. Well, GetResponse is a tool that I use every month to communicate with my several thousand newsletter subscribers, and it allows me to segment them. It allows me to automate the process. Nobody has to sit there and physically add or subtract a name from the mailing list. It also allows me to provide a prettier newsletter. I used to do text only when I was doing it myself. So I am able to use something that has more graphic appeal. And now, back in those days, in the late 90s, if you were doing an email newsletter, you worried a lot about bandwidth. So you didn't want to put a lot of pictures, you didn't want to put colors, you didn't want to put a fancy layout. But now, even for those people who don't have broadband, they have the ability usually to download things pretty quickly and read them offline. So we have a different world technologically than we had when I started using GetResponse, and I think GetResponse has grown with the times rather nicely. I have been a GetResponse customer since, I think, 2003, and have seen no reason to switch. We've now been doing it so long, it's been 15 years that I've been on the platform. So I think I may have been one of his very early American customers. And it is also one of the advantages that GetResponse has always had is that it's significantly lower cost than the many other competitors you have. Email marketing is much tougher than it used to be. When I started my email newsletter, it was 1997, and people actually opened their email back then, and they only had 20 things in their inbox. So now I get 300 emails a day and I open 10 of them. And when I was not outsourcing this, when I was doing it internally, I was spending 3-4 hours a week managing my list, taking the unsubscribes off by hand, all that stuff. And now my list is several thousand, and at the time it was 600, so it would have been a full-time job. So having some service like that is 100% necessary for me.